Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to be doing a little bit of introduction on dog training. Okay, brought to you by Savage Canine Training. Smoke a little cigar, relax. It's a great day. Have a nice, caramel frappuccino. Anyways, I've been getting questions asked left and right. I get a lot of questions. Well, Jose, this is the thing. You only do Schutzen. You don't do personal protection. Well, it's not true. I often hear it. Schutzen is not a real dog. I get it. There's people that don't want that in the Schutzen life, okay? And do not train for that, okay? I myself, I do. I do, because if you're paying for a dog that's a Schutzen dog, I want you to feel safe. I want you to go out, I don't know, the park, the bank, and still take your dog, okay? So for me, Schutzen, my dogs will engage. My dogs will come through. And this is for the person that know me. They've seen my dogs. Obviously, you might see some videos on there. But yeah, so we're going to be going through some, Schutzen stuff, okay? First of all, this is what I do with my dogs. Let's say I get a dog that's 5-6 months. And it might be a little bit too late. Some people might say for Schutzen, foundation is everything. Obviously, I get it, right? But I start my dogs with a flirt pole. Basic stuff. Flirt pole. They start chasing it. They get a bite. It's a happy thought. That's what they want, right? Happy thought. They chase. Stops. Bark, bark, bark. Barking makes movement, okay? With that being said, then I start introducing them to something bigger. For example, I myself, what I like to use is this. It's a little bit old. It's, they don't make them. So it's this sleeve right here. Okay. Then they move up to this sleeve. This right here is this is a bite builder sleeve. It's a sleeve, compression sleeve, right? This is what this is right here, right? Then if I start want to introduce my dog into personal protection, obviously then I go different ways. Then I start using this right here, right? And then we go from there. But to create a dog for Schutzen, it takes time. To create a dog for personal protection, it takes time, right? You can't just create a monster and let it go. You want that monster to understand, right, when to engage. You don't want a dog just to bite for the hell of it, because then what are you doing? You want some obedience. You want some control on a dog. So for me, the basic foundation on a dog for personal protection is Schutzen, right? You have the discipline, right? You have obedience. You have prey. You have aggression. You have defense. There's so many drives. However, I always want to keep my dogs in what? In prey, right? With that being said, in order for my dogs to bite or to engage, I always put him in a happy thought, in prey. So I might go into aggression and then into prey as the dog gets a bite. But yes, my dogs will engage in protection. I'm going to be doing a couple videos on people that I've seen, and in my point of view, in my perspective, they're good dog trainers, great dog trainers, excellent dog trainers, that will work a dog accordingly to what the dog is, right? So what happens? I've seen it. And again, the reason I'm doing this is to educate people, right? You cannot work a Rottweiler, a boxer, a cane corso like a dog, like a Mali, like a shepherd, like a dog that's always done it and has been bred for hundreds of generations. Obviously, maybe the boxer might have too, but you can't work them like that. You can't work them in the same drive. They're different. Every dog needs to be worked accordingly to what that dog is or that breed is, right? Depending on the dog. I've seen it often. Right now, I have a little pit. My son's been working this dog. Um, he didn't have anything, and I work in Corsos, some Dogo Argentinos, some Presa Canaros, which just in obedience. Cane Corsos and Presa Canarios. Cane Corsos I've done in protection. Presa Canarios, obedience. I just didn't thought or think that the dog was gonna be, you know, great in that, for the personal protection. However, I see the dog for what the dog is, and I work the dog accordingly to what the dog is, right? Um, to work a dog in defense, you must know how to work a dog. To work a dog in protection, you must know. You can't just come up and hike, yell at the dog and then, get a little bit of reaction and then run back, because then the dog understands. I bark, I yelled, and that guy went away. Yeah, you can introduce it like that. Again, this is my point of view. This is what I've done. This is not me talking down to anybody. Everybody has their methods, and if it works for you. And if it doesn't, then this is what I've done, and this is what has worked for me, right? I've done a little bit of defense aggression as well, but then again, I put it back into prey with a flirt pole, or a bite. I move left, I move right, boom, 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 in a bite, and then I take off, right? Um, so I'm gonna be posting videos in protection, for for the drive, and I'm gonna be doing some interviews moving forward with people that I know are excellent, great, you know, amazing at dog training. Okay, if you have any questions, I mean, for dogs, obviously, and protection, and what drive it, we're gonna be working, it's gonna be up to that person. I'm gonna be asking them questions. For example, what drive do you like to work your dog? Um, how do you work a Dutchie? How do you start a basic foundation on a puppy? So questions like that are gonna be asked. You know, like I said, I've seen a lot of people train dogs, and again, I just had a person call me earlier ago saying about protection. They all they wanted is just aggression, 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 no control. Then no, it's not done. I can't do it. Go somewhere else. Therefore, Schutzen comes in hand. Schutzen is a sport. PSA. I'm not putting other sports down. PSA, Mondu, Ring are sports that are, they have obedience as well. But this is the sport that I like. I don't understand. The PSA, the PSA. Oh, we got the cops coming. I don't understand the PSA, the ring, because I've never done it. Amandu, I don't know it because I've never done it. You know, so I've never, I don't understand it. That's why I'm doing interviews with people that do and that are great at doing the sport. Right? I've always stuck to Schutzen. That's my sport and personal protection, and I worked, and I've been doing this for 14 years. I'm a, you know, USCA, DVT, regionals, and national level helper, right? I have about 500 and something dogs on my helper books, um, for both of the organizations. Cops right here, so sheriffs. That's why I keep on looking over to my left. Um, anyways, with that being said, that's what some of the interviews are going to be, going about or heading towards. PSA, Ring, Mondu, and we might have a couple people that just do personal protection, and see, what's their point of view. Obviously, we're gonna be talking about that sport itself. We're not gonna be, talking down on any other sport because that's not what I want to start doing. You know, um, every sport has its goods and its bads, obviously, but for me, I love Schützen, and I've said it over and over. It's a great sport, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's relaxing. You go out tracking. A lot of people don't like it. Why? Tracking. Nobody wants to go tracking. You're out there by yourself. Nobody's helping you. I do have a couple people that go in groups, which is great. But for me, I go out by myself, most of the time. Every once in a while, I get somebody that comes with me, but not really. But again, shooting, it's a very unique sport that I have learned dog training through. And I train with a gentleman that taught me so much. I'm grateful, very grateful for him. He's done an amazing job, on helping me understand. Have helped me work dogs. Um, so yeah, so we're gonna be talking about that. Going into shitting a little bit, right? Obviously, you have so much equipment, and it's endless equipment. First of all, let me stop by real quick. If you like to order anything, leashes, sleeves, tugs, and toys, hit up my boy right here, Supreme Canine Supplies. Okay, this guy, hit him up. Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if he has a Facebook page. Hit him up. I'm not here to sell you anything. Okay. Hit him up. He does a great job with leashes, sleeves, tugs, toys, you name it. He might have it. If not, he'll get it for you or he'll build it. You know, hidden sleeves. He's working on hidden sleeves, which amazing guy. This stuff that I have here is stuff that I have acquired throughout my years. I don't have none of his stuff right now, but he did make this hat for me and this shirt. This guy, he's a great guy. He does everything. Hit him up. However, scratch pants to do helper work, the best. I love using helper. My helper choice is for my scratch fans. I love them. They're scratch fans. They're not bite. Suit. It's not a bite suit. It's a scratch fans. It keeps you from scratching. Um, moving forward with that being said, some of the stuff that again I'm mentioning here is to educate you, right? All these interviews that I'm gonna be doing, um, with all these people are to educate you, are not to tell you what to do and how to do it. It's just their point of view, their perspective on what dog training for them is. That doesn't mean change your program because this person said so, or because I said so. No, 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 no. Okay? Or I'm not saying you're doing it wrong. No. It's just what this person has been doing for so long. It has worked. Okay? Oh. Um, So nice cigar, love it. Had a client gave it to me. He bought me this and another one. So there's gonna be videos coming up on personal protection, Schützen, which is called IPO, IGP. They've changed it for so long. Ring, Mondu, PSA. Um, again, I have my son. Let me mention it real quick. I have my son coming up. He's 11 years old. He's been helping me with dog training for personal protection, Schützen, right? I have a couple dogs coming up as well. So that's what we're gonna be doing. Bringing up some videos and showing you what we're doing with these dogs. Trying to educate you. Real quick, the reason I got into Schutz, and it's a long story. Keep it brief. Okay. I was down in San Diego, Escondido. There's a place, and I used to go running at this park. And I've heard a couple people do, sits, plots. I think I was about 16 years old. I was already driving. Um, my brother used to wait for me while I went running. I did a little bit of boxing, fiddle with it. Um, and I heard that, a couple of years passed by. Then my next door neighbor was training his dog in obedience. He mentioned SIDS, Bloods. I can't remember the dog's name. Aria, I think, or Ariel, some with an A, whatever. Anyways, so I remember those words, and I asked, "Hey, Manuel, what's going on?" He said, "Just training my dog." And I said, "Okay, cool. What do you mean? Like, kind of training?" Then he went on and started explaining to me. He said, "There's a guy out there, and I train dogs. He trains dogs for personal protection and police work and this and that." I'm like, "Whoa, shoot me the address." So he did. Man, I went by several times, I want to say like every day for like 2 weeks. And every day that I was going by, it was early. So it was during summer. They started at 8 p.m. to train dogs, Mondays and Fridays. So that day I got off work late. I passed by. I saw probably at least 50 cars out there. And I said, wow, this is crazy. What I'm about to tell you, this is my story, okay? Don't say, well, my dog doesn't work. I'm going to get rid of it and then get another one. No, don't get that. Okay, so anyways, I went, everybody welcomed me. Hey, what's going on? I was like, hey, what's up? Everybody was out there competing, regionals, nationals. What's regionals and nationals competition at regionals, and national worlds, and people were going to worlds as well. Right? I was like, wow. So I ended up thinking, okay, I want a dog. So a buddy of mine had a wrecking yard, right? And I guess he ended up talking to this person, and he had a shepherd. Again, I'm not speaking bad about cops dogs, okay? He had a dog, he had a female. He ended up meeting this officer, not naming where the officer was from. So he said, hey, what's going on? And we started talking, and I was like, whoa. He says, hey, I'm about to bring my female to police dog. And I'm like, whoa, police dog. Oh my God, it's crazy. So long story short, I ended up getting a puppy from him, which, well, guess what? Not every dog has it, you know? I've seen people do miracles and I'm like, wow, dude, that's why I'm gonna start, doing these videos because I've seen people do amazing job and I'm like, dude, that was freaking amazing. You managed to get that dog, to bite, to do whatever it needed to do to achieve, an exercise. So I did. I got a shepherd. I kept on taking it out there, play with the flirt pole. Excuse me, the dog didn't have it. So then I asked my trainer, I said, hey, my dog doesn't have it. What do I do? My trainer then said, well, you know what, buddy? Take it home. Take him home. Work with it, give you some homework. Man, I kept on doing that. Then I'm like, man, this dog's kind of not working. Then I ended up getting an oldie bulldog, you know? And I'm like, damn. Well, guess what? I ended up getting two dogs that didn't have it. There's nothing wrong with them, just didn't have it. And so then I asked my trainer again. I said, hey, my dogs don't have it. I go home and I work on it and he has it at home, but here he doesn't have it. And then again, he tells me, well, and so finally one day I said, hey, my dogs don't have it. What do I need to do? I want a dog like that. And he says, well, buddy, just keep on working. I was like, no, hells no. Absolutely not. I didn't say that, but I said, no, just tell me the truth. I said, tell me the truth. If my dog doesn't have it, then I'll place him somewhere, where he works for somebody. I said, he has regular aggression. Just because your dog barks and bites doesn't mean he's gonna, just because your dog barks at your house doesn't mean he's gonna bite outside. It's called territorial aggression. Okay, and we're gonna be moving, and explain some of that stuff down the line. But anyways, I thought of it, and I'm like, well, my dog, he has it in the house and this and that, and so he says, just do obedience and learn obedience, you know. So guess what? I did obedience. I did my obedience. My dogs did great, and down the line, I ended up, placing him in a great place where they loved him and he was taken care of, and you know, he had a great life. Then I started moving to dogs that were bred for this. Obviously, these are dogs that were bred for this. These dogs were not like, oh, here, let me just for the hell of it. Not all dogs, because it's a shepherd and a Mali, have it. You know, if you know how to bring it out, then kudos to you. But not a lot of people know how to bring out, aggression on a dog. Yeah, if you back tie the dog and you corner the dog, right, and you come at the dog eventually is gonna bite because it's afraid for his life. But that's not how training really goes. Anyway, so I started moving forward, and here I am, 14 years later, doing dogs. Um, but yeah, that's how I got involved into Schutzen, and this is why Schutzen. I love Schutzen. I'm not saying I don't love the other sports, because I've never fiddled with them. I've never done the sport. I have nothing against it, but for me, I love Schutzen, and I'm always gonna love Schutzen. It's a foundation for my dogs and personal protection. And plus, if I train a dog, I want my dogs to be able to come through no matter what. I don't do a lot of this stuff that goes online, of all of these effects and stuff like that, like throw bombs, like smoke bombs and all that stuff. Because how often do you see something like that happening? Unless you're like a police department, yeah, I get it, but yeah, jumping your dog through, hoops and all this stuff, I get it. I've done it too. I've done it where some dogs will go through like a car, and engage and jump through, fences and all that stuff. Yeah. But anyways, that's what my videos are gonna be about. Training and what works, what doesn't work for that person itself, not for every other person, because everybody's gonna be different. Okay. So with that, I leave you guys. Thank you very much, for being here with me and looking at my channel. For more videos, subscribe, like. Again, if you want to get a leash, hats, shirts, dog equipment, here we go. Supreme Canine Supplies. Right here. Okay. Get at him. Instagram. TikTok. Subscribe on my channel. You can also follow me on TikTok right here. Look at that. Savage Canine Training. Okay. Follow my channel for more videos. We have some training. We have some Rotties. We have some um, Pitties. We have some Dutchies. We have Mallies. What else we have coming up? I think we have a Doberman as well, and doing great. So we've been working dogs from different breeds. We might have a couple boxers too as well. So follow my channel, TikTok, Instagram. I'm not hardly ever on Instagram now, but if you have any questions, reach out to me. Go to TikTok, Savage Canine Training. Okay, send me a message and we'll go from there.